Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Coffees and Content podcast. I am your host, Lauren, coming to you with another very random episode that I am throwing out there. I'm full transparency, putting this all together before I head out to a very exciting meeting this afternoon. Exciting announcement for what's to come. You, as my wonderful listener, are going to be one of the first people to hear what's happening because I'm going to start rolling it out over the next week. But I wanted to let you in on a little secret first, and that is that the podcast is getting a rebrand, and I am incredibly excited. You've probably seen for a wee while that Coffees and Content has been slightly more stagnant, and we've been focusing on some other areas. One of the biggest areas I've been focusing on being the Social Collective over the last 6 to 8 months, overhauling literally, and I kid you not when I say this, the entire agency. Everything has changed from our structures, packages, prices, team, everything. It's crazy. But I think one of the things that I realized is when we launched our, kickoff event last month called In Her Empire Era, what I didn't expect was to unlock a whole new level of connection with our community. And that really brought together people who have listened to this podcast, Coffees and Content, people who have read the Coffees and Content newsletter that existed pre this podcast, people that have followed my journey on the Social Collective's Instagram, and then they've come over to my own Instagram and they've followed along. I've gone from freelancing to solo entrepreneurship and solo business ownership to working with some contractors to working with full-time staff members to now having an amazing full team and just growing and scaling this business, taking it international, doing so many amazing things. And I think it wasn't until that evening that I really realized the impact that this podcast and this community has on one another. And also, I guess, just the amount of people that we can reach through what we do. And when I think about where the name Coffees and Content sits, historically, it was very much focused on daily social media tips and tricks or weekly social media tips and tricks, and really leaning into here's all the platform changes and here's how you can keep up. But I think in the sort of almost 4 years that I have been running the newsletter, and especially in the last almost year and a half that I've had this podcast, so much has changed. And we can even see that in the last few months where ChatGPT about 3-4 months ago was like the thing to use. Fast forward to what was 2 months ago, Claude is now the thing. And now fast forward to today, everyone is running their businesses through Claude, through its AI integrations and through all of the MCP connections. And if your brain is doing somersaults listening to me talk about this, don't worry, we'll get into more in the future episodes. But I think there's so much more than just what we can touch on in the space of Coffees and Content. And I think in a nutshell, I've got to the point where I've realized that I love Coffees and Content with all of my heart, and I would not have this podcast and this platform and this community without that podcast. But I think it's time for something bigger. And so I wanted to give you a heads up of what's happening, because very shortly later this week, you will see that the podcast itself is going to be changing. We're going to change the cover art from Coffees and Content to In Her Empire Era officially. So that is going to be the new home and the new space of what this podcast looks like. But I also wanted to let you know that Coffees and Content's not going anywhere. And I'm actually bringing it back OG style. So what you can expect from this podcast moving forward is every single Monday, you're going to have a bite-sized episode from me that is our dedicated Coffees and Content episode of the week. And it is dedicated to giving you the latest social media tips and tricks. So everything that you need to know about what's going on online, what's happened in the last week, I'm going to be bringing you those episodes. They're going to be audio only. So it means that I can just record them on the fly and then whack them up and make sure that you have all of the latest and greatest social media and digital marketing tips and tricks. And then what we're moving into on a Wednesday is our regular formatted episodes, but it's going to be a mix of me sharing a lot about the intersection of marketing and business, because like we've talked about, so many changes have happened that I think this podcast now deserves to have a space that goes beyond just marketing. I think when I think about the biggest changes that we've made that have really had a huge significant impact on the way that our business is growing and scaling, it's that we first and foremost do have a really strong, solid marketing presence. But I also think there is a huge component behind the scenes of the underlying business changes that have been made. And I know that you're curious about what those are, because I've been seeing so many DMs come in asking us, why have you changed this? And what does this mean? And how did this impact you? And all of these great questions. So I want to allow space for those conversations to happen. So that's what you can expect on a Wednesday, along with the occasional amazing guest episodes where I'm going to be talking to founders about being in their empire era and really looking at how they're growing and scaling their businesses in today's day and age. And then the other stuff that you can expect from us too is a lot more community events. I'm very, very, very excited. We have some amazing founders dinners that are going to be coming up. We have some more movie premiere evenings. We have different events that we're going to be running. We've got some panels that we're going to be doing as well. Hopefully a live podcast too. So there's so many things that you can be doing and getting involved in with this community. And I really want to make this a space where you don't have to be a business owner to listen to this and to get the most out of it, but you could also be a woman or anyone that works in business. You don't have to be a founder. I want this space to be something where you can either take on the lessons that I share from a founder's perspective, or you can listen and look at how you could grow and scale the business that you work in and take the lessons, whether it's the marketing or it's the business or it's the mindset or it's the strategy or it's the communication tactics and all of these amazing things that are going to be coming up in this podcast. So I really hope that this is helpful for you. But this podcast is now moving forward really designed to be at that intersection of both business and marketing, because I believe, especially growing an agency from being a freelancer once upon a time to a solo business owner, solo entrepreneur, and now having grown and scaled a full team. So we have a full in-house marketing agency team, which is just amazing. And there's so many things that I want to share with you guys that really incorporate all of the components of marketing, but also have that underlying tone of business and how we really change our businesses so we get the most out of our marketing. Because I think that for me is the core of what we do with our agency, is we work with our clients to make sure that we're not just delivering deliverables, we're delivering the deliverables with strategic insight and really critically thinking about how this is going to have an impact on your business. So that looks like looking at the quality of your leads. It looks like looking at your customer journeys. It looks like what happens once they've connected with you online and how we take it offline. Whether you work in marketing, you run a marketing agency, you run a business, and you just want to know how to do it all on your own and grow and scale a team too, this is going to be the space where you can really learn what you need to do in business to get the absolute most out of your marketing. So stay tuned. This was just a little teaser episode so you knew what was going to be happening. Go and spread the word. Also, make sure that you join our WhatsApp community. There is so much that's going to be happening in that space, and that's the space for our community to really get to know one another, to connect with each other, to find out more about the latest In Her Empire era events that are going to be happening, and seeing where we're popping up around the country and around the world, which is very exciting. We have some very exciting international trips coming, some amazing partnerships. I better shush because I'm going to tell you all of the things if I don't cover my mouth right now. So I'm going to wrap this episode up here, but I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. I will see you next week on Monday for our very first new little bite-sized Coffees and Content episode. But have an amazing week. Go check us out on social media. I'll put all of the links down in the show notes below as per usual, and I will see you all next week. Bye.